So, Yvonne, we are like we're like Insta friends. This is like friendship in the 21st
That's
century,
right.
right? So I can't really remember how it came about, but I think maybe just the South Africa vibes, South Africa tags maybe on Instagram.
Yeah, and the urban sketching and South African tags, I think,
Yeah,
mainly.
yeah. Because I think that's like a smallish kind of group of people, I guess, here in South Africa. I feel like there's obviously a Johannesburg urban sketching chapter, and which I've been to, but I think there's one in Cape Town as well. I don't know if there's any others around the country, but
Um, no, not that I know of. We have Urban Sketches in Cape Town itself, part of the official Urban Sketcher group. And then we have another group called Cape Painters and Sketchers, and we meet every Monday. The Urban Sketchers meets sort of twice a month. But it's all plein air, so it's all painting outside from life. The Urban Sketches is maybe about 15 to 20 of us that can possibly meet, and the Cape Sketches, there's up to about 60 in the group, but normally 10 to 20 that come.
wow, okay, so that's a reasonable turnout.
Yeah,
Would you say like there's quite a strong sort of artist scene down in Cape Town, isn't there? There seems to me anyway.
I think it is, and I think especially for painting outside, there might be slightly more venues to paint than around Johannesburg, simply because we've got the mountains and the sea and the vineyards, and there's just so much variety. There's always something around every corner. There's something new and different, and I think that's what attracts quite a lot more people to it. Yeah, and I think the art community is pretty strong here in the Cape.
Yeah.
I think there's some very good artists in Johannesburg, but when we talk about plein air sketching, I think Cape Town is a little bit bigger.
Yeah. And like how did you kind of find your way into art? I mean, like I know that's a big question, but like or maybe more specifically, how did you find your way into like plein air sketching and like sketching on location and that kind of thing?
Yes, so I did. I've got a diploma in art, so after school I did that. But I'd always done paintings in studio, so on canvas, oils, acrylics. Although many years ago I did start with watercolor. So watercolor is actually sort of what we would say my first love is watercolor. And then I migrated to oils and acrylics because everyone said, oh, watercolor, oh, you've got to frame it and it's so difficult to transport. And seeing that I was painting in the studio, it just seemed better to do it in oils and acrylics. And then I have a friend, Barbara Moore, and she was really into sketching. And in the beginning I thought, oh, I don't know so much, but I went with her a couple of times, and now we're talking, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago or longer. And I just started doing it more and more. And then especially when I got my job on board a ship, I migrated completely to watercolor again. So, and then whenever I'm home, I just do plein air sketching in my sketchbooks in watercolor. And the canvas work has sort of fallen by the wayside. I do a bit of fluid acrylics, which is very, it's water-based as well. It's not the thick acrylics. I use golden. So it has a more type of flow like watercolor. And so I like that medium. But other than that, I hardly do any oils or acrylics anymore.
I feel like now I've had a little bit of a taste of oils now because
oh, that's right, yes.
This program, but I feel like the big win for like watercolor is it's just so immediate. It's like you can just start painting straight away, and I feel like there's just a lot more to think about with maybe oils. I don't know about acrylics, but it just seems like there's just so much more to it, and it just requires so much more effort. So for me personally, I think the immediacy of watercolors is just it's just really, really fun.
Well, for plein air sketching, it's for me it's the only way. It's just so light and easy to travel with. It's something you can just chuck in your bag. Always have it packed, ready to go. It's just especially if you're flying and going wherever, well, wherever you're traveling to, it could even be locally. The fact if you were doing oils, you'd have to take your big French easel, and it's, you know, it's heavy, and you've got to schlep your umbrella and this and that. I mean, with this, you can find a little place in the shade. It can be on concrete or in the sand, so you don't need an umbrella as such. And you can just do it anywhere from a coffee shop. You know, if it starts raining, you go into a coffee shop, and it's just ideal.
I guess that explains why, like, basically just so many like urban sketchers or plein air sketchers or whatever opt for watercolor. It's interesting. It's probably been like a huge resurgence in like the popularity of watercolor since, maybe, I know like sketching on location has been around forever, but like this certain like urban sketching, now it's got some kind of, you know, maybe cooler label to it or something, has like grown in popularity so much over the last several years. It'd just be interesting to actually know like how much more popular watercolor, the use of watercolor is anyway. But Yvonne, you said something there about working on a ship, so I kind of want to move on and ask you more about that. So you are an expedition artist, which I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that existed until probably I started speaking to you. And since then I've sort of like come across that term a little bit more. And, you know, I know that there's the company over in America, which the name escapes me now. You've got one, actually, one of those small little, is it Art Toolkit? The small little palette?
Oh, yes, Art Toolkit. Yes.
So I know the lady who runs that company is also like an expedition artist. But anyway, I'd love to know more about that. How on earth did you come across this? Like, how did this happen, you know?
Yeah. I think I didn't know much about it either. And it was actually about 7, 8 years ago. I was on the big committee in the Cape Town Art Society, and I got an email from another art colleague for an advert to put in the newsletter of the art magazine, requesting or that somebody was looking for an artist to go on a ship. And she sent it to me because I personally know her, and she said, oh, please, you know, can I just put it in the newsletter? And I took one look at this advert and I thought, there is no ways this is going in the newsletter. This is my job. So the thing is, I've got experience on boats. I've worked in the Caribbean on charter yachts for 5 years, you know, many years ago. So I grew up in sailing boats and that. So I know the sea. And when I saw this artist on a boat, I thought, well, that's, you know, the combination is just ideal. So I applied for the job. It was very much a last minute. They needed somebody in 6 weeks' time for like a 5-6 week period to do the west coast of Africa, starting in Cape Town. And because I live in Cape Town, I think, you know, it was a combination, I think, that got me the job. The fact that I lived in Cape Town, I was an artist, I'd worked on boats, and I'd worked on inflatable boats, so driving Zodiacs. And I've also been like a tour guide for 10 years. And I think just working with foreign guests, I speak German and Dutch. So it was like that whole package. I think that actually got me the job. I'm certainly not the best artist. I mean, there's many better artists than me, but I think it was that whole combination that actually got me the job. And that was the first time I went on board, and that was the whole of West Africa, from Cape Town, 16 different countries, all the way to the top, to Morocco. Wow. Yeah, it was awesome. And that's and then I got a taste for it. So it was amazing. So my job is then to, on the sea days, because obviously if you're going from A to B, sometimes there's 1 or 2 sea days in between, and you've got to keep the guests busy. So not everyone wants to do art, of course, but it's offered as something extra. And so I normally get between 15 and 25 people. Our ship only takes about 100 passengers. So it's quite a large percentage that really want to give it a go and try it. So from people that have never painted in their lives before to architects come, you know, so you never know. It's like quite a sort of tightrope that you've got to dance there. But other than painting, that's just sort of that is one of the jobs. The main job is driving the big boats, the Zodiacs, to take the people from the ship to the shore and back, and explorations around the ice, or wherever you happen to be, and then helping with everything else on board. So you're basically looking after the guests, and if you like it, in a way like a tour guide, but it's with an educational program. So the ship doesn't have like other entertainment, if you like. We have got one musician for the evenings, but other than that, your entertainment is history lectures, geology, ornithology. So they're learning. It's a ship that goes to unusual places, and that you learn a lot more about the place and are sort of looked after. So I'm one of the ones that will look after the guests and hopefully teach them a new skill.
Wow. And did you have much of a background in teaching other people art before working on the boat?
Yes, I sort of gave classes many years ago, just sort of evening classes to people. And then a few years ago, I started offering art retreats in South Africa. And I've offered many up into the Karoo, which is our very dry, sort of arid area in the middle of the country, on farms. And we go for a week and we just paint, always outside. Yeah. And up the west coast, up the coastline to fishing villages, do a lot of that. And so this year alone, or I would say since the pandemic started, I've offered 4 retreats. So it's that's the sort of thing that I do then as well.
Okay. And you're, so the work that you've been doing on the boats for quite a few years up to this point is mainly going to Antarctica, is that right?
So the company that I worked for, at the moment I don't quite know if I'm still working for them, because this pandemic, everything's been cancelled. But anyway, we'll know a lot more in a few weeks' time. But they specialize in the polar regions, so it's mainly the Arctic and Antarctica. So those two, that's the speciality. So every year I would do at least 2 months in Antarctica and 2 months up north in Norway and the Arctic, which is the Svalbard Peninsula, Greenland, Iceland. So it's either that or down south, from bottom of Argentina down to Antarctica, the Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and then back to Argentina, and sort of like circuits like that. So that's the main thing. Then quite often, which is why I mentioned West Africa, is when the ship is moving from the south to the north, they sometimes sell that middle bit. So the ship has to move up, at the end of the season. So they would sell that west coast of Africa, or as they're coming down, they might sell a trip that goes Panama down the west coast of South America, which I've also done before, down to Antarctica. So they sell those routes going up and down, as well as the polar regions. Yeah.
Can we move on? Can we see some of your sketches from some of your trips?
Yes, I've got books and books.
Yeah, awesome.
And many books, but I will just show you some snippets. So of course, when I do sketches, it's sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. So never feel that it's always got to work out. Some are great and some are not, and that is how it goes. But that was basically one of the arrivals in Svalbard, which is up in the Arctic. And then these are all okay. Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Yep.
Yeah. And then what I do is I often do a bit of writing, just so that I know where it is and what happened in the area. And then it also it depends on how much time I have, where we are. So these were like a whole lot of walrus on the beach. So these are all sometimes I don't have time to put in color. And this is a lovely Saunders A5 book, but in this format. So, and then sometimes I do like just little things of little memories of different places, all different. That's sort of a little bit of the Arctic here. These are some of Antarctica. Sometimes the scenery can be similar just because of the black, white, blue snow and ice and that. And then again, it can be very different because this is the Falkland Islands. And you've got that yellow gorse and absolutely transparent, beautiful water. Yeah. Just a few little sketches. Very much depends on how much time I have. And I've got one here. Let me just have a look for it. Are there, for instance, that some puffins from from up in Scotland while going north. But what can happen sometimes is that it can, I think I've got it here, it can start snowing while you're busy sketching, and then things like this happen. So as the, it's like one big mess at the end of the day, but I keep it like that because that's the memory.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's easy to get really precious about your sketching, and I definitely have been there, and probably I still do that. I still get annoyed at myself if I do a bad sketch, in my personal, view. But it is like, it's part of the memory. It's like, okay, well, it didn't work out that day for XYZ reasons, and like every sketch is like a opportunity to like learn something, I think, so especially if they go wrong or don't come out like you wanted them to be in your head, kind of thing.
No, exactly. And then I do a few on brown paper, which I then just put in a different book because it didn't work where I have it. This is the Hahnemuller brown paper, but it's very thin, and you have to almost add gouache to it, the white gouache to watercolor, just to get it like that. But so you see, this book is not ideal. Paper was very thin. But I've got a few with the brown there, for instance. Yeah, just various. So that's another idea. It doesn't have to all be on white paper. In fact, adding the white to the brown paper makes it really great, So
yeah, I like that effect. I really like that effect. And like, I'd see a lot of the sketches you showed us were like just pure watercolor. I mean, do you find that it's easier to capture those kind of seascapes and stuff like that with just pure watercolor, or?
Yes, so that's all a timing thing.
Yeah.
If I don't have much time, I don't even have time to bring the pencil out, it's just a quick put a bit of watercolor down, just get the quick sort of impression. And and I might be on the deck or of the ship, or I might be sitting on a high spot, just sort of keeping an eye out and waiting for passengers to come up, and I can explain things to them. But then if I'm there, happen to be up there on my own for a while, then I'll quickly zip the book out and then do a bit of watercolor. The pen work, I'm starting to do more in pen direct, but quite often I do just a very, very quick pencil sketch first, just to make sure I've got the perspective, if you like, or the gist of what I want to do, just the idea that it's there. Yeah. And then I come in with pen work. And then, as you see, sometimes I will have time to put in watercolor, and then sometimes I don't. Yeah. So if I do pen work, it's normally quick, light pencil sketch, then pen work, and then if I have time, the watercolor comes out. So not often that I would do the watercolor once I'm back on the ship. Yeah. If I've left it, if it's like the one, this is the same place. You can see the one I've done in pen, and the other one pen and watercolor, because we sometimes go to the same places, so I have time to do exactly the same scene a few times. Yeah. So it's quite nice when you look back and you see exactly that, they actually look like one another. But yeah, just different.
And do you ever, you know, if you kind of against the clock and stuff like that? I mean, I think you've already answered this question really, but do you take like some reference photos to kind of finish off your sketch later on, or is it just like whatever I do on site is what I do on site?
I will take a photo. I think it's just more for myself than anything else. No, I will very rarely use that later. No, so I won't do that later. I work mainly in my own sketchbooks for myself.
Yeah.
But if, for instance, look, I'm on a ship, there are people that are interested in buying some of the originals, especially when they see you up there painting. I have got one of my Fabriano watercolor books has got like it's got pages that you can tear out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So sometimes I will take one of those with per trip, other than my own sketchbooks, and I will paint in those when I think, oh, you know, because obviously we're all trying to make a little bit extra money here and there.
Of course.
I think, you know, this is a scene that somebody might quite like. So then I will do it in that book. Yeah. That if somebody likes it, I can take it out, and then I know that book is not going to be for me. That book is possibly to sell. Yeah. To passengers, and if they see you up there on the hills sketching or painting a certain scene, it's very often that someone would be interested because they've actually seen the artist painted on the spot.
Absolutely, it's the whole experience and story around not just the painting itself, kind of thing.
Quite often they send me an email afterwards when it's all framed and hanging up in the house, and I think, oh, that's so nice, you know, that they really do like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And another sort of part of my job on the ship is to illustrate. I don't have an example here. I can maybe send it to you to put into your video later. Is to do an illustration on a nautical chart. So these nautical charts are big, and that's what the ships, you know, they now use electronic charts, but the old official nautical charts. The paper is also quite thin, probably only about 100 grams or so, but I do various images on the chart, and then that goes on auction, and then the funds are raised for a good cause, Ocean Health Fund or the Hook Pot Project, which is, you know, to help against bycatch on trawlers, you know, catching seabirds and that sort of thing. So so it's to help prevent that sort of thing. Anyway, so we raise funds and I illustrate that chart, and that is sort of one of the big jobs that I have to do on board. It's every trip in a season of about 2 months that I'm down there. I do maybe 4 to 6 trips because they're all back to back. And so then I would do 4 to 6 charts. So for every trip, there's a new chart. So that takes up quite a lot of time as well when I'm on board.
Okay. And tell me, Yvonne, is there, I mean, there must be, but like, what are the unique kind of challenges to sketching somewhere like Antarctica? There must be some.
It's cold.
yeah,
It's cold.
That's the one I'm thinking of, really. Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, coming from Africa, I was never one that, you know, that like Antarctica always thought, oh, one day I want to go down there, and I never thought it would ever cross my path. But I've always been one that, oh, don't want to be cold, you know, that sort of thing. So on the ships, they normally have the outdoor clothing for us and for the guests. So they get their own boots and their outer jackets and that sort of thing. But so that's fine for going outside. So even for me painting outside, I would wear that kit. I have a lot of my own kit, obviously, of which one being is, you know, of course, my Antarctica hat. And but it's your fingers that get cold when you're painting. So before I left on my first trip, I bought a glove like this, and I thought this is going to be ideal for painting.
Yeah.
So what happens is it's like a mitten. Yeah. But this top thing flips down, and then it's stuck with a little bit of Velcro there, so it doesn't fly off. And then this little one also tucks open. Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can really use your fingers. Now, this is ideal for maybe up to the Falklands. In my first trip or two, I used these, and I'm using them now is simply because I did get another pair that were even warmer. They were more merino wool in Iceland. and I lost them, unfortunately, but they were the same,
Yeah.
except in merino wool. But this is absolutely ideal for painting. I have had another challenge that the watercolor, as you're moving it around your palette, the water actually freezes. So it starts forming little crystals. So you can't mix it. You can't even put it on your page because the water is freezing as you do it. And I have on odd occasions asked the barman on board to put a little tot of some gin or something in a tiny little medicine bottle, which I then just add a little bit to my water just to make it a little bit more fluid. But that is not needed most of the time.
Okay.
So it's those are the only really challenges. My hands get, even with with thicker gloves, they really get cold. They really get cold. So every now and again, I have to. I might have some hand warmers in my pockets or something, and I just have to stop and just get up, stretch, walk around, warm up a bit, and then carry on, because otherwise it's just it's just too cold.
Yeah.
And the wind. So you have to have loads of clips because it can be extremely windy. So you just have to have loads of clips. But then we know that sort of thing here in Cape Town anyway, with all the wind we have. Normally well prepared.
So that actually segues perfectly into asking you a bit more about what you actually, what kit you do use as an expedition, what you do carry with you. And
I take very little. So I have this little bag. I can strap it around my waist, or just use it as like a kit like that. And you can see it's not heavy. Then inside here, like a moleskin A5 will fit in here perfectly. So I only have one or two, maybe a thinner brown one will fit in there as well. So everything is in here. I've got my variety of brushes, just whatever brushes you prefer working with, so everyone has their own favorites, and some charcoal pencils, my clips there. This is like a little ruler. Then bit of a small spray bottle. I buy the colors that I want to use, and I put it in a palette.
I've had my eye on one of these for a while, actually. Yeah.
This one is just ideal because it's got a little rubber edging here that when you close it, it really is sealed. So you choose the colors that you want, and especially if you're painting down south, you'll see all of these are blues. So you would take what suits the area that you paint in.
And what kind of brand paints are in there, Yvonne? Like just roughly, like.
Gosh, Terry, I use all brands. I love Daniel Smith, but I've got watercolors. I've got Dela Brownie, I think what they're called. I have got a bit of everything because I sometimes have friends that give me stuff, or I go to a shop and they don't have the one brand, I get the other brand. I'm honestly not picky or choosy. I use what I've got. They are all artist quality. But I think these days, even the Cotman or whatever, which is student quality, I think that quality is so good, compared to years ago. I really don't think you have a problem with using student ones. But anyway, mine are artists. And the watercolors in a tube, I like the 15 ml tube. It goes on and on and on. You just squeeze in what you want into your little palette, let it dry for a day or two. You're ready to go. And it's I never buy the little ready-made pans, or what do you call them, pans. It's just because you buy a set like that, there's no control of what is in there. No. So you don't get to choose. You don't get to choose your colors. And then I've got a variety of pens. So I've got, these are fairly new. They're TWSBI Go. They're fountain pens. So I will see what they work like when I next go. Just a mechanical pencil, some Posca pens, jelly rolls, calligraphy pens, that sort of thing. And and this little collapsible water container.
I'm just seeing mine here. Snap.
Yes, yes,
So
it's
useful.
absolutely ideal. Then just I normally always have extra, just because of all the black and white, is a little thing of gouache and a Payne's grey. And these two I use quite a lot in the north and south. So I have an extra tube always in my bag, eraser, sharpener, and then lastly is my little art toolkit. But it is this is actually quite new. This is the cutest little thing ever.
Yeah, it is cute.
Yeah. So I mean, look how small that is. I mean, that's the size of my hand. It's tiny.
That is,
and
like,
there it came only with 6 colors, and I put all the rest of the colors in myself.
Okay.
So as you can see, it's more African colors or warm colors, just because I've started using it while here. But I've got extra little pans, and if I get a new contract to go, then I will change my colors before I go and take this, because this is just ideal. But I would take my original palette as well. But I mean, look at the difference in size.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, this is great because I keep it in my hand luggage. And so if you're stuck in the airport for quite a while, at least you can whip out your sketchbook and do some work there. You'll never be bored on a plane ever again, because you know you don't have enough hours in the day normally to do what you want to do. Yeah. And
I get, with that tiny little thing, you're quite inconspicuous, you know, like people can't even, you know, it's not like you're getting your big palette out or whatever, people can't even see what you're doing. So
you just, cool. If you're flying, you obviously just make sure this is empty, and once you get on the plane, you can fill it up with water.
And that's just for misting your paints, right? Just
yes. So I normally would spray the palette, just a quick spray, just to sort of activate the colors, if you like, just make it slightly damp. But I use it for the page as well. So quite often I might spray the page first and then just put on the watercolor, just flows a lot easier.
Ah, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. And so okay, we've covered a lot there. That's awesome. And you were telling me that you're putting a book together of your sketches. Is that your Antarctic sketches that you're doing?
Yes, so I've done an ebook. So my first one. I've written a couple of articles for art magazines that have been published, but this is the first one that is a lot longer, because the publishing for magazines has been on one small area. But the areas are so large that I've done one now, an ebook, which is a combination. It's just Antarctica, the Falklands, and South Georgia. So it's those 3 down at the bottom, and it's a combination of a few photos, not many, but mainly paintings and sketches, and then the different landings that we go to, the type of things we experience. And then I've got a list of all the materials that I would use or take with, that I would use in the art workshops on board, and what is in my little travel kit. And so I've just finished that off and sent it off to the to be checked, and then it will be up and running.
Amazing. Okay, so by the time people are watching this on YouTube, I reckon it'll be ready to go. So guys, I'm going to put the link to Yvonne's book in the description, so you guys can check it out, because that sounds really super interesting. And also, Yvonne, you've got some retreats coming up, right? Or some workshops coming up, like internationally.
Oh yes, that's also, I've been working on that for quite a while.
Yeah,
I've got one coming up in France next year, but it's already fully booked. So that's like, thank you.
Yeah, that's
and awesome. That is actually quite a nice, because it's a combination of, it's called Cook and Create. So it's cooking and art. And so we're doing like a combination thing, and then going to the markets and sketching there, or sketching while we have the art demo, the cooking demos, and that sort of thing. It's a tiny little village in France. But then I'll offer the same retreat the following year. So 2022 is full, but 2023 will be available, and that's normally in July, so summer in Europe. And then in 2023 I have one in Morocco.
Yeah, so
you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, yeah, so that's the other thing that's you know, kind of cool. We've kind of both been approached by the same company in Morocco, Morocco Eco Way. So I've got a workshop coming up there in March 2022, and Yvonne, yours is in which month in 2023?
It's in September.
September 2023. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm super excited about
ago.
sketching. Yeah, sketching around Morocco, and yeah, still some spaces left on that, guys, if anyone's interested.
Yeah. And there's definitely spaces left on mine, seeing that it's
Yeah.
2023.
2023. So again, I'll put the links to the descriptions on that in the box below too. So I don't know, is there anything else, Yvonne, that you...
The one thing that's kept me really, really busy over this last year and a bit, when everything else has been cancelled, I've started my own YouTube channel.
Yes,
on art. Yes, but it's going along. It was very, very challenging setting it all up. I think when you get a bit older, it's always more challenging than maybe when you're younger, all this digital stuff. But I've learned so much on editing, and it's been a great learning curve. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I've decided that I think I want to sort of specialize towards the plein air videos. So something that where I go out to a certain spot, I do some painting there, a little bit of a recording, a general area of what it looks like, different paintings I've done on the spot, and then putting it all together and putting it on a video. But I do have in there, I do have a video of painting in Antarctica as well. I've got a whole video on that. And I've got a video on my kit that I take with.
Okay, awesome. So maybe I can link those also in the description below if people want to check those out. But yeah, I really like that idea, as you say, of like going somewhere and sort of showing people around a bit and doing some sketching. I've got a couple of videos similar to that, but I'd love to do more of that kind of thing as well, because I just think it's really interesting. And also, you know, I think it's nice to show some of South Africa as well, you know, in that kind of lens, you know. So as I've mentioned to you, I'm off on a 3-week road trip around South Africa in November as part of our mine and Duncan's honeymoon. So I'm hoping
come
that
and visit.
Yeah, come and visit you and say hello in person and maybe get some sketching done. But yeah, so it's going to be hopefully going to do some videos on that, so it'd be super cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more of South Africa, so I hope other people are interested as well on that.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
But yeah, I think that's all of my questions for today, Yvonne. Thanks so much for agreeing to have a chit chat with me. And yeah, guys, if you please do go and check out Yvonne's YouTube channel, check out the links below. There is everything we've mentioned, the books, the videos, and the workshops as well. But yeah, thanks very much, Yvonne, for chatting with me today. And hopefully I can come and see you in November.
Yes, that'll be awesome. Thanks very much for the invite, Taria, and it's been a pleasure, and looking forward to meeting you soon.